Hey guys, my name is Graham, and this is Emotions Explained. Emotions, the mystery of our times, the things that we're very poor at managing, and that have such a big influence on our lives. So here we see a scale where we have some very common emotions. At the bottom, we have what we tend to label as negative emotions, and at the top, positive. Now, I tend to say negative and positive more than good or bad, because who's to say what's really good or bad? But we can all agree that the emotions at the bottom there are disempowering, they drain energy from us, okay, and they cause basically problems in our lives. So let's just say that they are negative. And at the top, we have positive emotions that empower us, that give us energy, that give us freedom, that tend to give us what we want in life. Here we see a more detailed level where there are far more labels. Like I say, we could add more and more to this. But basically, you may not have seen it before, where we have them laid out in such a fashion that it goes from bottom, the most powerful, disempowering emotions, up to the top, where we see joy and knowledge and love and appreciation at the very top, very empowering. And at the bottom, we have fear and grief and depression and powerlessness and being a victim. As you can see, that you can't get much more two powerful, different, contrasting things than what we see at number 1 and at number 22. And all the way up, in between those two things, are the most common negative and then positive emotions. So it's a scale of energy, really, from the most disempowering to the most empowering at the top. Now, emotions are things that we experience for what should be just a short period of time, maybe a few days, maybe a couple of weeks, but emotion should come and go. Positive emotions tend to come and go quite easily, but negative emotions, we tend to get stuck with them. And in this video, we're going to try and figure out why that is and what we can do about it. So most of us tend to live on the negative side of the scale for whatever reason, and I'll go into that in more detail and tell you exactly why that is coming up in a few slides time. But we tend to live on this negative side within a range, and we tend to have an average within that range, which is our mental state. Our state of wellness, our state of well-being is our most common emotion that we have, and we tend to live within a range, let me show you, which we call our comfort zone, and we are in this range for 95% of our lives. It's, as you can see, it can go up where we can feel a little bit better, and it tends to come back down and balance out. There's always balance in pretty much everything. So you can see that we're going to have a bit better day. The median of this example is anger, so we can see that if we can go up and we can feel a little bit better, we're actually not as angry anymore now. We've moved up into discouragement and blame and worry and doubt, which still sound pretty bad, but better than anger. So then naturally it comes back down, and if we feel a bit worse, it can go down into revenge and hatred and rage and jealousy, and we tend to live 95% of our lives in this comfort zone, or should I say discomfort zone. So it's not to say that we can't shoot right up to the top of the scale or go right down to the very, very bottom, because there's still another 5% to play with. But for 95% of our lives, we are in this comfort zone, and that should make perfect sense to you. So we have this median level. So you can see there that there's a faint red line through anger, and that is what our mental state is in this example. This example for this person here, just this imaginary person, is anger. So they are an angry person because that is their most common emotion, if that makes sense. So this explains why so many different people tend to experience life from different places, because everybody is somewhere different on this scale. So the angry person experiences something that should be perfectly simple differently to the person who is just one level above at discouragement. The person who their median is worried experiences life so much differently from the person who is in jealousy, or let's say a positive emotion such as love. It's easy to see how people from different ends of the scale can have different viewpoints, but every single perspective, every single level here is a different perspective of life, and it's no surprise that people struggle to get on with each other so much when we all have different levels. Okay, so It's not surprising as well that at this end of the scale, people tend to struggle. They tend to have lots of problems because they have a disempowering state of mind, if that makes sense. Their well-being, their mental state, their emotional state is disempowering. It could be anger, it could be blame, it could be doubt. How are you meant to get things done if this is your comfort zone or discomfort zone? How are you meant to get what you want from life if this is where you are 95% of your time? Does that make sense? So it's no surprise that people, and most people are at this end of the scale, so don't worry if you think, oh, this is where I am. It's no surprise that people at this don't get what they want. The struggle with simple things in life, the struggle in relationships, the struggle for money, the struggle with the health, all these different loads of problems basically are attracted to this end of the scale. And the further down you go, the more problems that you have. Okay. So this comfort zone tends to be, when we're on this side of the scale, the negative side of the scale, or the most common side of the scale, should I say. Most comfort zones have 7 emotions above them and 7 emotions below them. So here, if we see that the average is discouragement, we can see that there's 7 emotions above, from blame up to pessimism, and below from anger to fear, grief, depression and powerlessness. Okay, so that is the scale, the comfort zone. Now as you get further down, obviously you can't have 7 below it, but the range is going to start to narrow. So just to clarify, if you're in the positive end of the scale, obviously the way that this is laid out here, this is just an example, of course. There's only 7 on this positive end. So if you're on the positive end of the scale, you're going to have like 3 or 4 above and 3 or 4 below. So how do we lift our mental states? There are thousands of ways to lift this mental state, because that's what we want. We don't want to be at this negative side of the scale. We want to be able to lift our mental state and get what we want from life, obviously. And there are thousands of ways to do this. It could be just having a conversation with a friend. You go for a cup of tea. They can be at a higher place than yourself, and that lifts you up. We've all experienced that. For a period of time, they are going to help lift your mental state. Okay, this is how counsellors and therapists make their money, because they are raising their clients' level up. They think they're trying to solve their clients' problems with logic, but this is what's really happening. Now, of course, there are self-help programs and books and coaching and courses and all of these things designed, these high-powered coaching retreats where people go away. People like Tony Robbins help people change their lives and all that. That's great. They're going to put you in this empowered state and everything's going to be great. Holidays. No, everybody's experienced going away on holiday. You feel totally different. You watch a movie, it transports you somewhere else. Music, you can have empowering music or disempowering music, just like you can have different movies as well. Food, people get a lot of pleasure and enjoyment out of food. That can change your state. And even drugs, of course. Drugs can help you go up or down on the scale. But the problem is that all of these are temporary. Even if you pay thousands of pounds for high quality coaching, a lot of it, I'm not going to say everybody, but a lot of it, it's temporary, and you're going to slowly come back down to where you were before. Hopefully with good coaching, you won't come back down quite so far, and your new average will be higher than what it was before you took on the coaching. So all these are temporary, and this is the big problem. It's only natural to revert back to this comfort zone for 95% of your future. At any attempt to stay higher than this comfort zone is exhausting. You can't willpower your way out of this comfort zone. Now, if we have more downtimes than good, more negative things happen to us, we have more struggles, we have more negative emotions that are further down than our median, or we have a significant traumatic event that we don't deal with properly, our median can shift down, and it only takes 3 weeks or so for the median to start getting lower, so that we actually have changed from that state of anger, and now in just 3 weeks it's gone down below revenge to hatred and rage. So it doesn't take long at all. The emotional reactions become states of being. So it only takes a few hours or days to have a mood. Weeks and months is a temperament. So then 3 weeks now becomes your new your new normal, but it can be temporary, thank goodness. But if you stay in that state for years, then basically that's your personality, that's who you are. Now, if our median reaches the very bottom of the scale and we stay there for a long, long time, our comfort zone narrows, we stop experiencing different ranges of emotions because we feel powerless, we feel helpless, we are completely disempowered. And this is where we see people who are depressed and powerless. And over time, if they're in this state for too long, this will become their personality. Now, instead of showing the wavy lines, I've used a sort of heartbeat there to just emphasize that this is why people flatline and basically give up. So it's very serious stuff, but that's what's happening their level. They've come down to this level and they've stopped experiencing the other emotions completely, and they've found no other way to go. So why do we struggle to raise our mental state? If we have positive emotions and negative ones, why can't we just raise them up as easily as we can seem to be able to raise them, to lower them? We've got positive emotions, we've got negative ones. Why do we seem to struggle so much? Why is it such a challenge to raise these things? We've just said that there's thousands of different ways to raise it, but why does it always come back down again? So there must be something that keeps our mental state in this discomfort zone. There must be something that keeps bringing us back down, just like a magnet is bringing us back down to this level. Trapped emotions. Most emotions come and go without issue. However, because we are generally awful at managing negative emotions, we are absolutely terrible at it, let's be honest, they often become trapped in the body. They are unresolved emotions. Because we don't deal with our emotions, they stay with us. Trapped emotions are real physical things in the body, little energies, and we all have thousands of them because we've all mismanaged them for years and years and years. These are real physical things in your body, I promise you. You may think I'm cracking up, but they are genuine things. If you think about it, we have negative emotions that get trapped because they are trying to help us. Some sort of danger has happened. It could be real or imagined, because we're really good at imagining dangers today. But initially, they were designed to help us. We have a traumatic event where, let's say, somebody's threatened us, or we've seen some sort of animal that was going to kill us. If you think about how we evolved. So the saber-toothed tiger, we saw it. Now we trapped emotions in our body so that we link together the danger. Even though the tiger's gone, if you're lucky to survive, even though that tiger's gone, you still have these trapped emotions in your body to try and keep you safe. So unresolved trapped emotions keep us in this discomfort zone. They keep our level coming back to the normal, coming back to the average, and keep us within this comfort zone, this level. So my life so far, I'm getting on for 42 years in a few months. I reckon I'm about 41 3/4. My life so far as a total, I've spent 78% of my life on the negative side and now 22% on the positive. And if you compare this to the rest of the world, most people are 91% in the negative, so my life is doing pretty good. But it wasn't always so good. The first 40 years of those nearly 42 years, I was 96% in the negative, and my average was disappointment. And that was who I was for 40 years, disappointment. And that really resonates with me as a person. You might resonate with one of these other levels, but for me, I can point to a number of things that caused disappointment in my life, and that really does sort of ring true to me. Up until about a year and a half ago. So here we see my comfort zone for just over the last 3 months or so. So I turned 40. Since that time, in just under 2 years, I've learned so much more about how to resolve these trapped emotions, how to raise your level, how to live more on the positive side of the scale so that you are empowered instead of disempowered. And my scale now, my average, my median, my emotional state, my state of being is now between enthusiasm and positive expectation and belief. So it's not that I still never go down or go low, but 95% of my time I am here. And this is very, very powerful. You see dramatic changes in your life once you get from that negative side to the positive side. So I hope that's made some sense. Emotion basically come and go, but if they stay with you too long, that becomes your level, your state of being. And if you want to learn more about how I did this for myself, just click learn, click on the button below, click learn more, and I'll see you over there.